Okay guys, so now that we've finished House of the Scorpion, we talked a little bit yesterday about how it's an example of a hero's journey. So let's, review what a hero's journey is. Hero's journeys have been, the archetype for literature has been around for as long as storytelling has been around, really. And it usually follows a very particular pattern. So you start here in the everyday world. Our hero is just going about his business, doing whatever it is he does. And then there's the call to adventure, or something presents information and our hero is called on some sort of quest to gain knowledge. After that, there's the refusal of call. Typically our hero does not want to go. They're very comfortable in their life, they want to keep doing what they're doing. So the supernatural aid comes. This is typically their mentor. In our book, this would be Celia. So the supernatural aid comes and then they cross the first threshold. Our hero has decided either consciously or subconsciously that they are going to take on this quest. So they cross the threshold into their magical realm. The road of trials is all of the tests and tribulations our hero has to go through until they get to the supreme ordeal, which is the most extreme of these trials. After that is the ultimate boon, which is when our hero wins, really. They get what they've come for, what they've set out to accomplish. The refusal of return is the hero likes being a hero, doesn't really want to go back to their normal life. They're kind of having fun now. But they must go back, so they cross the return threshold, head back to real life, and then they're the master of two worlds, where hopefully they can take the wisdom that they've gained from their quest and use it to balance their two worlds. So what we're going to talk about today is something hopefully you guys have a little bit of knowledge of between books and movies. Is Harry Potter a hero's journey? So what we're going to do today is we have a small enough group that I think we can make it work with the whole class. But what I want you guys to do is we're just going to kind of talk about it. I want you guys to pull, how many of you, raise your hand, have seen or read a Harry Potter book or movie? We're going with nice, Shannon. That's what I like to hear. So what I want you guys to do is let's talk about it. Let's try and figure out if Harry Potter is a hero's journey. Can anybody throw out some information? Who can give me an example to any of these things that they have found in Harry Potter? Chris.
I can't. Should I read the learning target?
Oh yes, please read the learning target.
I can understand the phases of the hero's journey and can name examples. So an example is from the everyday world is that when we first meet Harry Potter, he's living in the world of the Muggles with his nasty family and is living under the stairs and thinks he's a regular person until someone comes to reveal that he's not. But that's another example. Also, that's not that.
Well, and it's been a long time since I've read the first book, but wasn't it like an owl or something that came and told him that he was, really a sorcerer?
Mm-hmm.
And that was the call to adventure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Who remembers how Harry responded to that?
Well, his family didn't like that he would get angry and the couch would move or the cake exploded or something. So they, being his guardians, didn't they refuse the call? So he was called to go to Hogwarts, to go to study and be a wizard with the other wizard children, and they were like, no, you're not going.
Would the owl also be a supernatural aid? Or is that something else?
I think you could consider the owl a supernatural aid, but he had another mentor. Jen?
I think Hagrid is a supernatural aid.
I think you're probably right.
I didn't read the book.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Does this go through the over arc of the 7 books, or does this take place in each individual book?
There's a good question.
I think in each book it has those elements. And then, at the end of the first book, he becomes the master of two worlds. I think that he still goes through most of those elements in the rest of the books.
Mm-hmm. Each book does have all of these heroes' journeys and the overarching storyline.
Yeah, you talk about the road of trials, and it's almost like a freeway where every book is connected, but Voldemort is like the like destination that he's going towards. So it's all these different trials and like miniature books and like this miniature structure that ends in the whole. You know, it's kind of cool.
I think also though, in every individual book, he wins whatever there is to win at the end of every single book, and then he has to cross the return threshold at the end of every book. So he has to go back home to live with his aunt and uncle, at least the first most of them.
Especially as long as he lives with the Dursleys, yeah, it's definitely some of that. He doesn't want to go back.
So if Hagrid is his supernatural aid in the first one, does he have any other supernatural aids?
Yes.
Sirius Black.
Dumbledore.
Almost said Gandalf.
Close, Shannon.
Yeah.
What about, you said Sirius Black, but what about secretly Snape?
Yeah, I think so too. I agree with you.
He's too young.
He's like the silent behind the counter, like on a table, like fixing things to go right. What would you call that? That
I would call that a supernatural aid. Obviously, Harry doesn't know he's there for most of it, but I think that would be considered a supernatural aid.
Does he ever have a refusal of return?
Well, yeah, he never wants to go back.
No, I mean like,
He loves Hogwarts.
okay, like in the end, in the final countdown, does he have like a refusal
In the last book, you
in
mean?
the last book, like the last stand, and then he's like, okay, I'll be okay now, I'll go back to normal.
I don't think that's really addressed, because it's like, a whole bunch of people are dead, and then like they cut to like 10 years later
They
when
have kids.
they're married and have kids and they're all at the train station and the whole thing is starting over. So I don't know, if it was there, J.K. Rowling didn't let us see it.
That's an interesting point. They skip over.
That's interesting for me personally, because I didn't enjoy the end of the seventh book, and I wonder if that could be part of it.
Well, she also came out and said she wrote it that way, and now
That
regrets.
she doesn't like it.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like complete, so I wonder if that's because it didn't fit my own model, the hero's journey that I've experienced and everything else.
Excellent access for knowledge, Jen.
is it true that every hero's journey of a good story has a refusal of return? So meaning like, I just need clarification, so the hero doesn't want to start the story, starts the story, changes, and then doesn't want to go back to how he was before? Or are there different ways to view a refusal of return?
I think there are different ways to view the refusal of return, and also I don't think that every hero's journey has to have, because this is like a simplified version. When they use it in like mythology, there's like 21 steps to the hero's journey. So this just has like some of them, so I don't think every hero's journey needs to have every single piece, but they have the majority of it. And the refusal of return, I mean, anytime you go through like a grand transformation like that, you have this new wisdom. It's hard to just go back to your old life the way it was. So maybe it's not like an overt, I'm never going back, but more of like a subtle, how can I go back when I have all this new information?
Or if you talk about the Iliad and the Odyssey, he couldn't go back because he had to wander around for like 10 or 20 years.
So the refusal was made for him.
Yeah.
And if you think about The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, there's the attachment to the ring that draws them into this other world, and they don't, that's their refusal of return, is this, the draw of the ring thing.
These are excellent examples, guys. So that begs the question, is Harry Potter a hero's journey? Raise your hand if you say yes. 100%, guys. All right, well, so how do you feel, Fist of Five, about your understanding of the phases of a hero's journey? Pretty good, pretty good. What other examples can we think of?
Well,
Movies, popular culture, books, anything.
Well, we brought up Lord of the Rings, Frodo Baggins in The Lord of the Rings, or even going back, since it's in theaters right now, would be Bilbo Baggins. He definitely was like, no thank you, no, no thank you, I'm not a burglar, I'm not interested, I do not want to go, wait, what?